Hello everyone, I'm a Metaslave and welcome to Chapter 23 of my FE6 RR LTC. In the Girls.cc context of Vanilla or RR, the end goal is to try to two-turn it without any staff uses. I do the same here, but I do run into some roadblocks that I had to kind of rig my way through. But the first thing I do is, since Karel is exactly in the range of this Manakete from his starting position, I use him to kill it and rig a Binding Blade crit to save as Binding Blade use. Then I chug a boots with Yoder since he's a little behind on his boots regimen, and I also would like him to move as far as possible on turn 1. Then I have Dian, who's already at 15 move, pick up Karel, so that Clarine can take Karel and use a boots at the same time. Now it's time, the second dance will be used on Clarine, but before I actually Bard Train, I'm gonna have Yoder take a second turn. I Berserk this Manakete that's exactly 2 spaces away from him. I could easily just use Aureola and murder this Manakete, but I want to save the uses, and finding use for Berserk is funnier. Ultimately, what I really needed to do is get this Manakete away from attacking Clarine, which happens if he moves later in the turn order. Sorry, if he moves later in the turn order, like Berserk would cause. So Clarine full moves and drops Karel. She has her Caliber equipped so that she can slaughter a bunch of Wyvern Riders on enemy phase. Zeiss is also going to kill Wyvern Riders on enemy phase using the Wormslayer. Ultimately, these Wyvern Riders do not need to die, but if anything, I'm just demonstrating that Zeiss's Sword Grind regimen was extremely lenient, even if he hit it very early in the run, relatively speaking. This disgusting rig is so that Elfin and Clarine do not die, and also so that Yoder does not get statused by these Cat Magic Druids with status stabs. Clarine's natural void is so high since she has cap speed and luck by this point, but she can still die if she gets unlucky. Elfin, on the other hand, needed a lot of help since he's in range of 4 Wyvern Riders and a Druid. These Wyvern Riders attack Zeiss, but again, their death actually means very little. The reason why these Ballista, or these Wyvern Riders, like, go for Clarine over Karel is just because, her defense is much lower than Karel's. But that's good for me, because I actually would like her to get EXP, and she can actually kill them on the retaliation. She manages to get just 2 full levels on this enemy phase just from killing these strong, high-leveled Wyvern Lords. I do burn through many Air Caliber uses, but as I alluded to already in Chapter 21, I'm not actually that starved for money, so I don't need to worry about selling it. And obviously, since Chapter 24 is complete Dragonland, there's no need for Air Caliber after this map. So it's perfectly fine for me to burn through it like this, but I didn't even completely burn through what I had. This is probably the most ugly enemy phase in the run, maybe, because of not only Elfin's survival, but also ensuring that Yoder does not get statused at all. He has to dodge all 3 of these, which is not as difficult as it sounds, given that he's, not right next to them and has 30 res. I might have made my life a little bit easier if I had put Zeiss and Milady on the lower on the deployment order, because then they would be targeted as well, which means Yoder would only have to dodge maybe 1 or 2 instead. This Druid does hit Clarine, unfortunately, but that's okay since she dodged a lot of Wyvern hits and the Ballista. This Manakete elects to go for the Druid since he has an easier time hitting the Druid as opposed to Clarine. Again, if I had just killed the Manakete, that wouldn't matter, but it's funny to use Berserk. I had to burn those RNs so that Yoder could crit this Druid. These Druids can roll down such that they're 2KO'd by a Cap Magic Yoder and Purge, but unfortunately, they rolled up in this case. Clarine, the sniper, can just naturally be 2KO'd by bolting Clarine, since bolting is stupidly strong in this game. She also gets another level up and will move on to Cat Magic next chapter. I rig 1 more Binding Blade crit with Karel so I can save the use, and he easily 1-rounds Brunya, which is nice since I didn't really have anyone else in range. But I can easily dance for him to seize now. But first, I visit the village with Fur, who is fielded solely to do this. She recruits Karel's replacement, Roy, and Roy's pretty bad. There's not really real reason to use him at all, so I don't. Now in the dancer's spare turn, I use an extra boots, and then I dance for Karel, and that is Chapter 23, completed in 2 turns, staffless. I will see you next time for the finale.